Off and running bright and early on a Saturday. Well, not that early. 10:14 on the West Coast, 1:14 on the East Coast. The coach is going to be with us here momentarily. We're going to talk a lot of Niner football. Hope everybody's having a great, happy Labor Day weekend. Great time to barbecue. Went to Pig and a Pickle yesterday for lunch, and then my wife said today, should we do ribs tonight? I'm like, oh, maybe not. Maybe not. I might have to go chicken. I might have to go a little barbecue chicken tonight on the grill. But it's a big day of college football. All right, this is where I'm at. Here's the early scores for those of you who are out there. Michigan is putting one on East Carolina. The ECU Pirates are going down. It's 20-0 in the Big House. Second quarter score. My man Milton has already scored for Tennessee. Their big number there in the Vols game against UVA in Knoxville. 7-0 Tennessee early. They're a huge favorite. Deion Sanders and his kid up on TCU in Texas, 14-7. That one in the second quarter. Oklahoma's putting one on Arkansas State. It's 35-0. Sooners, 12 minutes to play in the second. Iowa's up a 14-3 score on Utah State, 7 minutes to play. All right, I have a wager today on UW. I took Michael Penix and the UW Huskies, given the 14 at home against Boise State. I'm just not a believer in Boise. Also, Husky Stadium may be rocking, and I love Penix. I think Penix is awesome. I think he's a terrific young quarterback. One of the best arms I've seen, really. I mean, the guy's got an absolute hose. So I took that. I'm watching a little bit later of Texas and Rice. Notre Dame, Tennessee State, that should be a blowout. Golden Domers giving 49. That's right. Sam Hartman, of course, has transferred. He's at Notre Dame now, the Wake Forest quarterback. So Sam Hartman's pretty damn good. And then SC Nevada tonight, or through this afternoon, I should say. SC's given 38 in that game. But I want to get, and of course, I'm an A&M fan, so I'll watch A&M New Mexico later on in College Station at Kyle Field. Aggies minus 37. Bama gets Middle Tennessee tonight in Tuscaloosa. Game of the night probably is the Battle of Carolina. North Carolina ranked 21st in the country. Drake May on the road against Spencer Rattler and the South Carolina Gamecocks. North Carolina on the road, a 2.5-point favorite, but North Carolina's defense is a sieve. We'll see. That one, Mac Jones brought in a bunch of transfers in the secondary. Is he going to help out against Rattler? South Carolina finished fast last year under Beamer. Can they keep it rolling this year? I'm looking for the chat to give me a wager angle on North Carolina, South Carolina. My son Christopher says, Dad, go South Carolina and take the points. I usually like SEC over ACC, but I just got burned on Florida against Utah the other night, so I'm kind of cool on the SEC right out of the chute. But if anybody's got an angle on Spencer Rattler, Drake May, South Carolina at home against North Carolina, drop it in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. And, of course, now we bring in the coach. Coach, good morning. How are you, man?
What's good, Larry? What's
man,
good?
You've been traveling. You're back. You're doing good.
Ready
man,
to go.
Boots
Ready
on the ground, freshened up. You're ready to rock.
I'm in the field, ready to go, man. I'm ready to talk ball. The season is here. It's time to stop talking about the off-season boys. Let's clap it up for the off-season.
There we go. There we go. There you go. Thank you,
Can
off-season.
we clap it up?
Let's clap it up. Let's clap it
the
up.
Off-season's over, baby. One time, two times. Off-season's over,
right.
baby. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
The off-season was a tad bit negative.
Oh,
oh, my God. Hey, by the way, did I catch you on Grant's stream singing? Were you singing at the end of the...
we were trying to go through, that was a little bit of Dawson's Creek.
I talked to Grant yesterday on the radio, and I said, all right, man, you got any big plans for the weekend? He's like, yeah, I'm going to LL Cool J.
Oh.
So he went to LL Cool J last night. So I drop on him. I go, come on, Grant, let's spit some I Need Love lyrics. Do you got it? Do you know them? Do you have them committed to memory? And he just goes right into it on the radio. When I'm alone in my room.
Oh my God. Yo,
Oh,
LL's a classic, man. Yo, Grant surprises me with his music Rolodex. Like he surprise he throws me off.
Well, hey, first of all, are you in a part of the country, that gets fired up, for college football? Are you a college football fan? Do you have a college football allegiance? I kind of just went through the scoreboard there. I bet the UW Huskies and Michael Penix today in Seattle against Boise. Boise's defense has lost a lot. Washington's given 2 touchdowns. I'm going to go with the 2 touchdowns and go with the Huskies. First game for both teams. But I'm looking for an angle on South Carolina, North Carolina on ESPN at 4:30. I want to watch that game, but I don't know, man. Drake May's way better than Rattler, but South Carolina's athletes are probably a little bit better than North Carolina. North Carolina's defense isn't great, but then Mac brought in a bunch of transfers in the secondary. South Carolina finished fast under Beamer, but I don't know if they're trustworthy. Do you got an angle on that, or do you have a favorite college allegiance?
Shamefully, I'm
UVA.
I'm a Bama fan.
Bama. Okay.
I was a UVA fan. My little brother played at UVA for a full term. He played about 3-4 years there. So I was a Wahoo for a little bit, right? I was there with the Wahoos and the Cavaliers for a while. And of course, I always hold Marshall close, and Bowie State, and my Fairmont Falcons out in West Virginia, my Morgan State Bears out in Baltimore. I got some guys down on my Florida A&M Rattlers. So I'm more allegiance to guys that I know that are kind of connected with their programs, following these guys. I got some boys that are in Canada. So right now I am a Bama fan. We got Middleton. I think we got Middle Tennessee State week 1.
Middle Tennessee State. It's going to be a rough one.
I'm ready for week 2.
How can they handle Middle Tennessee? Will they be able to handle Middle Tennessee State? They're only giving 39 at Bryant-Denny today.
We never covered. Bama never.
Who's Bama's quarterback this year?
Jalen Milroe.
Is he good?
No. So he's college good. You know what I mean? Like he kind of brings that Anthony Richardson skill set.
He's
to
fast.
Bama. Yeah, he's very dynamic, fast, big. Not as big as Anthony. He's like 6'2", but Jalen's like 230. So he's body type wise, he looks like Lamar now. So
he something tells me he's got a little help. You know what I mean? The roster is never bare. They always have somebody.
Right. And really, they got Ty Simpson waiting in the wing. So he's another quarterback that I actually thought was going to win the competition. So, I followed a real competition, quarterback competition this summer. And we were able to figure out who our guy is. And I'm ready for college. I love college ball. I think Dion and the boys, Colorado's was up 7-0 on TCU last time I checked, and Colorado caught a pick in the end zone. So
Colorado, and that Colorado's going right now. Let's see, and it's Dion's kids starting at quarterback for the first time, and I'm seeing 14-7 to Colorado against TCU.
Okay.
The chat's losing their mind. We've got to, first of all, everybody hit the like and subscribe button on the to get the pump up the stream. Chris Wall drops this one. Test, Larry. My account is working in the chat now, right? Yes, it is, Chris. There you are. We see you. You're in like Flynn. We got the first super. We're off and running. Deloaded all over the place. Need to get ex-Bengals kicker Harry Sack on waivers. Yes, thank you, Deloaded. All right, let's talk. Let's right out of the chute. Let's talk a little bit about Nick Bosa.
Okay.
He's still holding out. It's been over 30 days. There's a lot of speculation.
Right.
I asked John Lynch, any chance you'll trade him? Before I could even get the question out, he's like, no. And Shanahan has said no. But, their options are pay this guy or trade him. Those are the options. And according to sources, my good man Tony Pauline says that the 49ers are offering a deal in the range of $30 million to $31 million per season. He also quotes a source stating that the Niners won't break the bank on Nick Bosa. Obviously, the time is running out before the opener.
Right.
The holdout is held now is dragged into September. The Niners and Chiefs are in the same boat right now. Chiefs with Chris Jones, Niners with Nick Bosa. What do you think? Is this going to get done? Is he going to be there at Heinz Field? It's also kind of risk reward. How much practice, is it irresponsible? If he signs on Saturday the 9th, can they play him the next day? What do you think?
Yeah, they can play him whenever he's ready. However weird it's gonna be, he still gotta have the baby. Still gotta play. It is what it is, right? I'm remiss from an oldie but a goodie from Inglourious Bastards from Lieutenant Aldo Rain. We got ourselves here a Mexican standoff. We're looking at Chris Jones and Nick Bosa, seeing who's gonna blink. That's what this is. So really, I'm gonna maintain my position with this. I'm not worried until I don't see Nick Bosa on week 1 suited up and ready to go. Right? We got to hold our water. This is a situation that is kind of beyond the Niners in a sense, right? He's trying to set a precedent for other edge rushers to come. There's another defensive lineman that is in the same boat as him, and they're both from 2 different warring organizations who are trying to get through. Another thing that's clear to me is that the organization is doing finally what they should be doing. It's just kind of like staying quiet. But, Kyle saying, I expected this. You didn't expect this. You did not expect him to still not be here on September 2. You didn't expect this. So what this is showing me is that Nick is holding the conch. He's got all of the keys right now to this situation. He's 100% has the leverage, and he's utilizing it. And again, from a player standpoint, I know we want to win, and we're talking about this from the 49ers organizational team prism, right? We want to win games, but the game is a lot more multifaceted than that. It has a lot of different sides, and we're going through that right now. Nick is only going to get but so many chances to do this. Right. I am a player advocate. I'm always going to advocate for the players. And Nick, he's not going to get a lot of bites at the apple. And on top of it, he's had 2 serious knee injuries and still kind of gotten himself to this point. That's kind of remarkable in and of itself. Right. Sure. And it's got to show that he knows that. Right. Like with 2 knee injuries and still coming in and being the defensive player of the year, and he should have been comeback player of the year when he came back the season that he had after that. And that kind of wiped it out. And then he comes back and doubles down with a 15-plus sack season. From knowing how the sausage is made, with understanding that the owners, if they're paying me $30 a year, they're making about $1 billion, right? It's like, dude, the numbers guys are there for a reason. Make it happen. I know from a fan standpoint, that's something that you don't want to hear. But if my last name is Bosa and Nick is my brother, cousin, uncle, or whatever, I'm telling him, don't budge an inch until you get everything you need. That's just what's going on their side of it. And really what it is, it's a small minority controlling the majority. And it's frustrating. But at this stage of the game, there's nobody within the earshot of my voice that would not be doing exactly what Nick is doing if they were earned the right to have this type of leverage, right? And that's just really what it is. He earned the right to have this leverage. So,
is he the most important player on the team?
He has to be with what they want to do with money. Playing wise, no. If let's go doomsday. If Nick never signs, right? Let's just say he holds out. That would be a huge blow to us, but we still would have to move on and play football. He wouldn't stop. Nick not being here is not bigger than Trent Williams being down, in my opinion. Right?
Well, it is interesting, though. I mean, listen to this stat. Every year that Nick Bosa has played a full season with the Niners have made it to the NFC title game or better and had a top 5 defense. So it's like every year, obviously the MetLife year where he got hurt against the, early in the year in New Jersey.
Mhm.
That aside, every year he's played a full year, they've made it to the championship game and had a top 5D. In some ways, you could argue he's the most valuable guy in the entire team, especially when you think of everything they do is predicated on getting a big rush up front. It's funny, I'm reading Grant. Grant's like, instead of paying Nick Bosa like an elite quarterback, trade him for an elite quarterback. Yeah, Grant's just poking the bear now. What do you think, though, as far as, is there, I mean, how does if this doesn't get done, the Niners have stated they're not going to trade him. But if they're at an impasse and they're unwilling to bend and he's unwilling to bend, isn't that their only option?
I think this is what saved Nick. This is what saves Nick. You got multiple siblings or your only child, Larry?
I'm one of four. I have a brother and two sisters.
Where are you at?
I'm number 3.
All right. So if you're 3, right, and it's report card day, and you guys are all different ages, so the report cards come in differently, and you know that I got a D on my report card. I got a D, but my older sisters got 2 Fs, right?
Right.
What are you gonna do? You're gonna go ahead. What's your older sister's name?
Kim.
You're gonna say, Kim, did you show mom and dad your report card yet? And she was like, no, I haven't shown my report card yet. And in your mind, you're saying, well, there's no way in hell I'm showing my report card first. I'm not gonna be the first. I want Kim to show her 2 Fs first before I show my D to soften the blow. And the blunder, you kind of slip under the wrath of what your parents are giving your other siblings. Your D doesn't seem so bad. From that standpoint, I think that Nick is kind of coming in under the blunder of Trey Lance. I don't think the Niners can stomach moving Nick Bosa and Trey Lance in one calendar year. That is just
it's a PR nightmare.
And I think that Nick knows that, right? You would be an idiot not to recognize that, right? So the trade talk would be a bloodbath if the Niners couldn't cross this delta and get Nick on the field and live happily ever after. So really, I believe that something is going to happen because the egg is really all over the Niners' face. On top of the fact that this is Nick's first contract year, so all of the fines that he's accruing over this time, they're waived. They're going to get waived in the first round. So,
right.
So you can already toss that up as a wash. He's in the catbird seat. He really is. He's got us by the short and curlies, man. We got to pay him. And we got to get him on the field. And we can't play hardball and act like we would even. Dude, do you understand what the backlash would be if they even started fielding offers? Like, if they even just started, softly taking offers and it would get out. Like, everybody wouldn't look at this as, this is a savvy move where they need to go get their picks and blah, blah, blah. People would be looking
Niners blew it again. That would be
there you go. You know the deal, Larry. It would be, here we go again. So really, from a PR standpoint, from a money standpoint, from a team standpoint, from a schematic standpoint on what they do on defense, there's really nowhere the Niners can go but give them this money. They got to pay him. That's just where they are. On top of the fact that they've been playing it so cool that now you've created this inertia that's moving in this, we expected this. John Lynch said we already had the money budgeted. So how do we go from that to, possibly 2 first rounds and a player and blah, 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 blah. And everybody will be like, all right, we're at Z. You started at A. Talk to me about LMNOP. How the hell did we get here? So
yeah, I mean, there's going to be even if they got a whale of a trade, there'd be a lot of disappointed people, and it would probably involve picks, and then obviously that would hurt the Niners in the present. Albert Breer has got a report out. He's saying it's a 5-year deal, and that Bosa's camp is probably asking, they're saying there's a
35.
difference. They're saying there's a difference of about $4 to $5 million per year, which
So
is
they're
seem
saying that
to
the Niners are saying they're at 31. That sounds like 35 to me.
well, it sounds like that Bosa's camp may be asking for around 160, 170, and the Niners may be offering 140, 150, something like that. And so, we're talking about the difference of $20 million in the deal. My question is, I think the real pressing issue might be that the agent understands the Niners predicament as far as PR and is holding steady. Now, the Joey Bosa, his brother, who also is represented by the same agent, got a record amount of guaranteed money at like 102 million or something like that. Well, what if Nick's asking for 160, 170 and he wants 140 of it guaranteed? And they're making some outrageous guaranteed demand because they know the Niners are kind of over a barrel.
Well,
Wouldn't surprise me. And in that situation, that would push the guarantee record to such a stratosphere that the people who negotiate these things, in the Niners case, Parag Marate, I mean, I think if you're Parag, you may have to take the L here and just be like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be hailed as a super shrewd negotiator on this particular deal because I don't have the leverage. I've got a Super Bowl championship team, and I've got to have them there by week 1, and that's what 9 days away.
yeah. Well, I tend to agree with you, Larry.
8 days away.
If we look at let's go back a little bit. George had an issue getting his contract done, right? There was hold up with Debo getting his contract done, right? Trent Williams had to call Kyle personally to kind of like get him over the goal line to get his contract done, right? So there's a pattern with the organization being compartmentalized in a certain way purposely, where you're starting to see that the money in the negotiations that are started with the organization aren't necessarily linked with the coaching staff in the front office. It's a whole different entity inside of the organization. And what's emblematic of that is how our big time players always seem to struggle to get their deals done, but a coaching staff in a front office that's so they posture with so much of a hands-on authority that when they don't have their hands on, it's very noticeable. And they always are kind of they kind of look like they're waiting for the Pope smoke, like they're kind of sitting back, in the Sistine Chapel, sitting in the veranda, just like all of us, waiting on the Pope smoke to see what happens. That's how it kind of feels, right? I don't feel like they're closer to this situation any more than we are as fans. There's another door that they're behind, in my opinion. I will say this. What makes it fair is you got to look at it from the Niners' position too. Joey got a boatload of money, but Larry, do you think he's living up to that contract?
No.
I don't
the
think
Chargers
so
the Chargers aren't going to conference title games. The Chargers aren't in the Super Bowl.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
how much of the Niners think about that? How much of because they're so insulated as a brand, right? The Bosas, they train on their own. They're always by themselves. They seem as though that they have their own SOP for how they want to matriculate as.
What did Nick do in the playoffs? I mean, I think a great quarterback who gets rid of the ball quickly in a lot of ways can neutralize the great rush.
Well, I'll say this: pass rushers in the NFL are kind of being oversaturated, like running backs are, in my opinion. There was a slew of expensive pass rushers sitting on free agency this year for months on end, and the same thing last offseason. I look at pass rushers almost like as exotic cars. Like, they're cool to drive. They're cool to get in renting when you're on vacation in Miami. but nobody wants to fucking pay that $3,500 oil change. Like, nobody.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're cool for what you need them for in certain moments. But I feel as though that because of the trend, and there's so many of them now, there's so many fringe pass rushers. I mean, look at where we found Robert Beal at. You know what I'm saying? Like the actual archetype for what used to be rare as a premier pass rusher has kind of been diluted down through football. It's been diluted down through college. And now you're starting to see these kids that are your Nick Bosa's. Nick Bosa was rare coming out of St. Thomas Aquinas back in the day. He was rare for his body type and what he did because he had an NFL father with NFL pedigree at a low level of football. So he's kind of been ahead of the curve throughout his entire career, even at Ohio State. But what happens is that things like that always regress to the mean in football. And what happens is that you're starting to see more fringe, lower level guys that are pass rushers. And they can do good. And some guys are going straight to college like Robert Beal, where that's all they were used for is pass rushing. And you can find those guys. You can get them. So I'm not here to say that there's not talented guys that can go get the quarterback that are one of one. I'm not trying to diminish Nick's skill set. But what I am trying to say is that the base level of what Nick brings is starting to be evangelized throughout the league. And you're starting to see that paying once in a lifetime money for that one player, you better make damn sure that he's the leader on your team and the tip of the spear when you absolutely need him. Because if not, you can engineer around that skill set. You can get multiple guys around that skill set for much cheaper. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, the question is we have no idea what he wants. David Lombardi tweeted out, he said, how can the 49ers make Nick Bosa's new contract surpass Aaron Donald? Aaron Donald gets $31.7 million as an average. He says while staying under the salary cap and being, especially in 2024, he's proposing triple bonus structure, signing bonus, 2 guaranteed option bonuses that prorate in 24 and 25. It will keep the first and second year cap hits at $10 million and then $17 million. And it would also give him base guaranteed money that would eclipse TJ Watt's totally fully guaranteed money at $80 million. I just think that Nick wants a lot more than $80 million guaranteed. My guess is he wants closer to $120 million.
100.
Yeah. I mean, I know he wants over north of $100 million guaranteed because his brother got the agent is the same agent has got his brother over $100 million guaranteed, and I think he wants over $100 million. If he wanted close to 120, I wouldn't be shocked by that. So the question is this: your only options are you have no leverage. Your options are to sign him. And get him in there week one. You're a Super Bowl contender. There's only one team that earns the bye. The home field advantage is obviously important. If you don't believe so, go look at last year's NFC Championship game. Do you want to go to Philly or you want Philly to come to Santa Clara? I mean, the differences are dramatic. So you got to hit the ground running if you want a chance. This entire offseason has been about maximizing this year and starting fast. And this entire training camp has been about don't lose week one like you did last year against the Bears. And you're going to go lay an egg because you don't sign Nick Bosa because you're trying to win the deal. Either you got to lose the deal or you got to consider trading him. Now, here's the thing about it. I don't know who wants him, but let's just say you mentioned St. Thomas Aquinas. His dad is a Florida guy. He's a Florida guy. Dad played for the Dolphins, right?
Right.
What if the Dolphins knocked on your door and said, we'll give you Christian Wilkins and Jalen Phillips and a pick? Would you do it?
Yeah.
I think I would do that too.
I do it.
And I would do it because I think depth rules the day up front.
And not only that, depth rule. All right. So
do you think that's a fair deal, by the way?
Yes. And I'll say this. You can have as much depth, you can have as much players as you want. But if you can't coach it up, it's all for naught. And
they got a great coach.
That's my main point, Larry. Like, I understand that Nick was plug and play. He was plug and play, right? But also,
he's the prototype.
Yeah, but also Coach Kasarik has done so much with so little. I feel like if I'm in the front office or if I'm a scout, I'm kind of whispering about, dude, why are we putting so much money in the strongest coach that we have? Why are we doing that? Why don't we try to find, if we're gonna find fringe guys, if we're gonna find guys that are big upside, boomer bust guys, why don't we try to do that with our best coach in the building? Why don't we do that? So I understand that Nick is more of a cornerstone piece. He's more than just what he brings on the field. He represents the start of this regime. He gives this regime a lot of weight for knowing what they're doing. Nick also kind of dispels the narrative that Niners don't know what they're doing in the top of the draft. So I know he was a slam dunk pick, but they got to get this done for so many reasons. And yeah, I agree with you. If I got two young guys, and specifically a young guy and another killer on the interior, which in my opinion we badly need, and a pick, which we badly need, I would do it. I just don't see paying Nick $35 million a year. He would go from hero to heel in a heartbeat because every game he has a fringe sack or doesn't show up in big games. People would be asking that question. Like, dude, we're paying him $35 million a year. Like, motherfucker, you better go win the game now. Fuck that, by yourself. Like, so he's getting like quarterback money. And that would be ironic for the Niners, right? To pay quarterback money to a defensive end. I don't know, man. It's organizationally, I don't agree with paying him that much, but from a player standpoint, man, he deserves every penny. And I don't mind that he's going to go get it.
Well, I'll tell you though, what gives them even more leverage is the fact that the D-line behind him is not as deep.
They've lost a lot of depth.
Yeah, you don't have Samson Ebukam sitting right there. You don't have Charles Omenihu sitting right there. You have guys that are complementary type pieces, but they're not anywhere close to Nick Bosa.
But again, we got Charles in the middle of the year for what, a 5th round pick?
I think it might have been a 6th.
Might have been a 6th, but we got him in the middle of the year and he flashed right away, right? And then he actually compounded on being in a better environment. I mean, he talked openly about loving our building. The same thing about Samson. Samson Ekubam was very good for us early, but near the tail end, he was hard to keep on the field. We gotta call it straight, right? And
he just got hurt a lot.
Yeah, he got hurt a lot. So Arden Key, honestly, the one who I really hurt, I really didn't want to let go of Arden Key. Arden Key to me was a ball player.
He could play inside, outside. He was the key to their NASCAR package.
Such a versatile piece. My God. So Arden Key hurt really out of all of them. But what I'm here to say is that we tend to fall in love very quickly here. And we haven't seen the boys play yet. So I want to temper expectations, and I don't want to completely burn the house down yet. Right? We gotta see, So we gotta see, we gotta see what Nick looks like with Javon Hargraves. I mean, let's go glass half full for a second. I'm excited to see how Javon Hargrave is going to be able to play next to Nick. Right? I think that
should be awesome. You can't double everybody.
Exactly, and for what we've seen, he's kind of getting the brunt of not being able to play with Nick. If anybody is waiting for Nick to come back, it would be him. Right? Like, dude, I need to be able to show why they paid me all this money so I can get some single man one-on-one wins in pass rushing. I believe that if Nick gets back by week 1, none of this matters. It just doesn't. That's the weird part about football. We can talk about the narratives of him not being here for the team and him, being able to solve tissue injuries and him being ingratiated into the game. This is the meat market side of the business, right? It's bro, you got paid, go suit up. Go play.
Most fans would say, just pay him. Just pay him.
Where we are now, yeah.
Well, I mean, and yet Niner Gold here says, I would rather invest in D-line depth than in Bosa.
Yeah. I mean, and another thing, this is what is so beautiful about the game, right, Larry? Is that Nick has all the leverage, but the true governor in all of this is us, the fans. All it takes is for him to be gone long enough for people to start saying, you know what? Is he really worth this? Is he really worth $35 million a year while we're doing all this waiting around? Like, so Nick has to understand that, yes, you have leverage, but for now, this is, you know what I'm saying? This is a living and breathing organism. This thing is changing by the day. So you may be good now, but you just need to be forewarned that you being away and actual games being played, that's when I feel like the organization has leverage, because they can say, well, you know, we're on to the business of football. Nick's not here. You know, when that quote comes out, you know that makes a player look like shit. As soon as somebody asks about a player and a coach says, well, we got to worry about who's here. You know, right now we're worried about Pittsburgh, right? We're not worried about blah, 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 blah. That is not a good look, right? Because what it means is that your situation has superseded us actually doing our jobs now, and we have to leave you behind. So,
and yet the players never turn on players, but you know, I'm sure there might be some resentment if they.
No, but I'm talking about organization. I know the players are probably still talking, right? They're all private contractors. All of them signed a 1099 at the end of the year, right?
So, and they all root for each other's money.
Yeah,
for the most part.
You saw Fred. They know. Listen, as a player, for all of the posturing and all of the ivory throning that these teams do you think that for a second I'm worried about how they maneuver their cap? Hell no.
No.
You get that. You figure that out. That's not my job.
But you know, it's one of those things where it's easy for the fans to just. I don't care about the details. Just get them in there. I just want to see number 97. And then other people are like, no, I'd rather you not pay him and have depth and move him. So it's like there's two different camps. Michael Alanis says, why anyone would sacrifice other players by paying quarterback money to a non-quarterback is beyond my comprehension. We were the top 4 defense in 2020 when Nick was out. Do we really need Nick? Well, you need a pass rush. I don't know if you need Nick per se, but you need a pass rush. There's no question about that. You gotta have a pass rush, or you got no chance.
So let's go there. Let's have the conversation, right?
What are the other guys they got?
Right. So for how we're built defensively, we do need him. We need him. Now, we can have a complex conversation. We can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. There's a difference between what the Niners need from a team standpoint from Nick, and then there's a difference of what Nick needs from a player standpoint. So is he worth $35 million? There are some fans that would flatly say, no, he is not worth $35 million. However, that conversation is gone because of where we are now. Right? So because of where we are now, whatever we have to pay him is just going to have to be that, because we're days away from starting our season. Right? So really, in certain instances, you could say that the organization has pitted themselves in a position where either they pay him or they move him or he does not play. That's it. That's where we are right now.
And they decided
they made talk about if he's worth the money.
They made the decision. They wanted to go cheap on the O-line and spend for premier guys on the D-line. That's how they wanted to build this team. Trent Williams makes $27.2 million cap hit this year. But the rest of that O-line is dirt cheap. Aaron Banks, 1.9. Jake Brendel, 2.3. Spencer Burford, $1 million. Colton McKivitz, 1.5. The backups make Feliciano makes 3.2. Everybody else makes right around $1 million or less. So they're not spending money on their offensive line so that they can spend their money on their defensive line. Armstead's getting paid. Hargrave's getting paid. And the game plan was to pay Bosa. Now get it done. Get it done. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, we can sit here and talk about the numbers and this and that. I think at the end of the day, Bosa's agent is really savvy. He sees that the Niners have a bad PR nightmare on their hands with the Trey Lance trade, and he knows that he's got him over a barrel, that they don't want to trade him. And so they're like, hey, he's like, I bet you anything they want. I bet you he wants every bit of $120 million guaranteed. Every bit of that, if not more.
I mean,
and he's probably going to be able to get it.
Yeah, and if I'm the Niners, I'm looking at him, the injury history, and his brother. And I'm like, dude, your brother's not even living up to the money that he got, right? Like, no. But
I wonder if there's an attractive trade out there for the Niners. I wonder if Miami would offer Wilkins and Phillips and a pick.
If there's a trade that the Niners would take, obviously, if it made sense, I wouldn't be mad at it. I mean, every player. I mean, shoot, Joe Montana got traded. Anybody can get traded, right? So, I wouldn't be shocked that he got traded, especially.
There'd be a lot of fans who'd be pissed though with their 97 jerseys.
They'll get over it. I mean, it's not that deep.
There's a lot of jerseys being traded in the last week.
Hey, bro, we just mercy killed our number 3 overall pick a couple of weeks ago. Anybody can get it. I don't care, bro.
James Foster says we're still in the books for D Ford at $8.5 million. How about that? D Ford is one of their top cap hits still on this year's cap.
That was a blunder. You know what? That is a huge lump of coal that gets swept under the rug.
That was a bad one for Lynch. Brett Veach took him to the cleaners on that one.
Mm-hmm.
No way around that one. Here's another mistake. Daniel Shabazz. DJ Jones was a mistake, letting him go. Now,
we should have paid for DJ Jones.
Absolutely.
We should have paid DJ Jones.
Heart and soul of the defense, and nobody really realized it.
Yeah. And you know what? We've never gotten that run game together since he's been gone. That run game is still not the same since DJ left. I still call Dre Greenlaw DJ Jones, like all the time. Like, I miss DJ Jones. And did you see him against Denver?
And he was a great guy, dude.
He was
DJ Jones was just such a great dude.
He was a great locker room guy. And also, did you see him against Denver? He's still good, but even better because they play him like a starter now. It's like, man, I saw him playing against Denver, and he was just wreaking havoc. I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Shit hurts.
Judge Shuttle says, Larry, pull your head out of your arse. Don't let them say the defense was 4th without Bosa. It was crap. I don't have the listings in front of me of where their defense was, but I know it wasn't 4. But I did see that.
It wasn't 4.
That's
hyperbole.
Yeah, well, no, somebody threw that was an error. Somebody put that in there before, but I didn't want to jump it because I didn't have the info. All right, let's table Bosa for a second. Steve Young came out with a reaction to the Trey Lance trade. And he said, trade nothing to Dallas ever. And I saw it. I had some extra time yesterday. I was waiting to go to lunch with a buddy, and I arrived like an hour early. So I'm sitting in my car. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to comment on this. Mm-hmm. And this is what I tweeted. And it's a longer tweet, but stick with me. I said it's really hard to argue with Steve's philosophy of trade nothing to Dallas ever. I said the most interesting part of the move is that Trey Lance is actually going to the Cowboys. And I said by trading him to Dallas, when you consider the history between the two teams, it's essentially upping the ante. It's sort of like saying to Jerry Jones, our football personnel knowledge is better than yours. And it's also a really loud statement that the 49ers are both all in on Brock Purdy and don't think that Trey is going to be an all-time great quarterback in the future because you would never voluntarily trade a future elite quarterback to your most hated rival, right? And for what amounts to the difference in value between maybe a 4th versus a 6th-round pick. And I said for Dallas, It's classic Jerry Jones being impulsive, but it's also super low risk. And then I asked the question, what will happen in the future? Will the 49ers look smarter for getting a fourth-round pick for a player who never really made it? Or will the Cowboys look smarter for stealing a great young quarterback from their most hated rival? And I said, what's undeniable is that by trading with Dallas, the 49ers all but guaranteed that this deal will be remembered, will be discussed, and will be dissected for years to come. Some will argue that the Niners took an unnecessary risk by trading Trey to Dallas, but I admire their personnel decisiveness and conviction. If we're being real, though, we have to admit that it could become a defining personnel move of their regime. And then I said, Charles Haley trade, part 2, more Cowboys 49er lore. To me, I mean, the most interesting part about the trade deal is that the Niners, John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, made the trade, traded him to Dallas, and then took the podium and both said, hey, man, the story on Trey's career is not written. He still could be very, very good, as if they still believe in him. But don't you think that by trading him to Dallas, knowing that the Cowboys are one of their most hated rivals, other people would say, oh, they're not rivals. They are rivals. That in a way is like almost doubling down on your evaluation that you don't think Trey's going to be great. Otherwise, nobody ever would trade a great young quarterback to one of their most hated rivals, especially for a nominal price. So in a way, I almost feel like the 49ers are saying, we're going to prioritize getting the best compensation back we can, because at the end of the day, we're not worried if Trey goes to Dallas or not. To me, it almost is like a challenge to Trey and a personnel challenge between the Niners and Cowboys to say who knows ball better. And I know the Niners may backtrack from that and just say, well, no, Brock was here and Trey just needed to move, and that was a good spot. And yeah, come on. Who are we kidding at the end of the day? Are you trading him to Dallas if you really think he's going to be awesome? I think it's the Niners basically saying, you know what? We know he's not awesome, and we're going to take the best compensation, and we don't care. We don't care where we trade him because we don't believe that he's going to fulfill his potential. What's your read on it? Am I reading that right? Am I reading that wrong? To me, it seems like the Niners really upped the ante, really doubled down, and made this a more memorable situation than it ever probably needed to be. If they move him to Tennessee, and he goes to Tennessee and plays well for Rand Carthon, the Niners are going to get raked a little bit, but, it's still like, hey, we got Brock, they got Trey, it wasn't happening here, oh well. But if he goes to Dallas, which he is, and becomes a star, Shanahan and Lynch could lose their gigs over that. It's remembered for decades to come. It's being talked about for years and years and years. What do you make of the Lance trade? Not the trade itself, but the fact that they sent him to Dallas.
Well, that was a long ass tweet.
That was a long ass tweet.
I'll say, I just think that maybe sometimes I feel like we tend to look at things from and rightfully so, but only from the Niners perspective, right? The Niners traded him to Dallas, so that must show that how they really feel about Trey, right?
Or are they under such pressure to get a fourth over a sixth that they don't? The difference between a fourth and a sixth make you willing to not care where you trade him?
No, I think sometimes the truth is hiding in plain sight. The truth is that the Niners, they balked. They should have held their water. That's
in what way? In what way?
Well, if Kyle would have faced the music instead of like doing the pre-recorded bullshit and everything, and like ran and actually faced the music and said, hey, you know what? If he was going to face the music, he could have really like utilized that situation. Like sometimes when you're most fucked up situations, if you have your wits about you, you could really make some shit happen because everything's kind of transient. Everything's moving, right? If Kyle would have faced the media and just said, hey, look, I don't know who's going to be the third string quarterback right now. It's really none of you guys' business. You guys know we've been trying to get this done for the longest, and you'll know by week 1. If he would have just held his water, oh, Kyle, there's reports about blah, 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 blah. You'll know who the starting quarterback is by week 1, right? If he would have did that, I think that they would have been able to feel. First of all, I don't think they would have ever traded Trey. They should have still kept him. It makes the team stronger. But even if they were going to trade him, they could have waited for Nate Sudfeld, just tore his ACL. I think Will Greer was somebody who was about to get let go. Like there's still movement in the league where if a 4th round pick is what you were really pressed off of, there's teams that are going to need a Trey Lance in their building just for a 3rd round pick, or not a 3rd round pick, but a 3rd round quarterback. So that's 1. 2, I feel like to go back to my initial premise of this is that I feel like we give ourselves way too much credit. Like the Niners thought that Trey wasn't good enough, so we purposely gave them to Dallas just to prove a point. Yeah, just like we knew who we were going to pick when we traded all of those picks to go up to the 3rd round, or just like we knew that we were going to pick Brock Purdy with the last overall pick, and he was going to come in and save our bacon. It's just like, dude, wake up. We luck out on a lot of shit, and I feel like sometimes as fans, we live vicariously through our organization, so we want to give them so much authority and control over knowing what they're doing in the situation. The Niners didn't give Trey to Dallas because they were so not sold on Trey that they purposely gave him to a rival. No, Dallas saw that the Niners were flailing, and they came in with a 4th round pick because the compensation was probably a 5 or a 6. They came in with a 4th, and they punked the Niners and said, hey, we got a 4th for you. What do you want to do? And from the Dallas' standpoint, if they're in the draft this year and there's somebody like Trey Lance laying around in the 4th round, and they're like, yo, let's spend a 4th round pick just to see what this kid can do. They spend that pick. The bean dip is gone by the 4th round, Larry. Nobody knows what's going on during the 4th round of the draft. You know what I'm saying?
You never know. But I mean, I assume the Niners were getting 6th round picks from other teams. So they essentially said, hey, you know what? We prioritize a 4th over a 6th. I mean, who knows? Maybe they were getting no offers. Maybe the truth is nobody else made an offer, because when the Ravens were asked about it, they said, no, we didn't make an offer. And another team was like, no, we didn't make an offer. So who knows? Maybe Dallas was bidding
over now.
Maybe Dallas was bidding against themselves. I personally think they got a steal. But either way,
over now, Larry. Nobody's going to claim the dirty condom. Like, it's over. Nobody's going to sit back and say. Awful. Nobody's going to sit back and say, "Oh yeah, well, this is what we really wanted with them back." Like, no, everybody's going to back off and say, "Nah, I don't know what the hell you were talking about. What party? I wasn't there."
Well, what do you think? What do you think? If there were other bidders, what do you think they were offering?
5th and 6th.
Yeah, so they took the equivalent of a 4th, because a 4th is better than a 5th or a 6th, but they didn't care enough about Trey beating them in the future to say, don't send him to Dallas, send him somewhere else.
I don't look at it that way. I feel like they didn't have the foresight to understand that if I'm getting offered a 4th now, then he's probably worth a 3rd when somebody really needs him. Even if they offered a 4th, right? You pin that fucking 4th to the wall because that's your new watermark, right?
But Coach, what I'm saying is if Trey's good, they trade him to Tennessee, and he's good. Mm-hmm. So what? Who cares? If they trade him to Dallas and he's good, those guys could get fired on that because the fans could turn on them.
I would like to interject.
You don't agree?
Larry, if Trey goes anywhere and he's good, that's coming back. That's coming back. If Trey goes to any NFL team and he's good, come on. Nobody's going to look at
it's
Trey
also,
playing.
come on, let's be honest about it. It's also predicated partly on what do the Niners do with Brock Purdy going forward. If the Niners win 2 of the next 3 Super Bowls with Brock Purdy, then Trey could be very good and they'll be fine. But if Brock falls on his face and the Niners fall on their face and Trey's good, I agree with you. But if Trey's good in Dallas, they're going to hear a lot more about it than they ever did if they sent him to Tennessee.
I think that's the romantic side of it. I really don't care that he went to Dallas. Like, I understand that they're
your rival. That's Bama trading him to Auburn.
I don't even really care about the Iron Bowl like that. Like, to be honest with you, like, really, I understand like trading them to Dallas, like the fan side of it, the ESPN fantasy football side of it, yes. The history side of it, Charles Haley, like, yes, I get it. But
if he goes there and they win Super Bowls, that's going to be bitter. Charles Haley won 3 Super Bowls with Dallas. Like that was incredibly bitter.
Putting more and more on it. But if he goes to Super Bowl with Dallas, I think that if he goes to the Super Bowl with Dallas, before he even gets to the Super Bowl, the cat will be out the bag. It won't take the Super Bowl. It won't take the Super Bowl. Like, I'll tell you this. If Trey Lance, this is a good topic. What would it take for the development of Trey Lance for even Brock Purdy fans? The fans, not even Brock Purdy fans, but just the fans who thought that Trey was a bust. What would it take for you in Trey Lance's development for you to turn and look at Kyle and say, you fucked this up? What would it take? What would it take? Would it take a starter? Would it take him being a starter on the team? Would it take him?
No.
I think he's take for the this is a good question for Frank.
I would say if he became a star, if he goes to Dallas and becomes a star, they're going to have a lot to and Brock Purdy and the Niners don't win the ring. I mean, if Brock Purdy leads the Niners to a Super Bowl, then you know what? It's like, hey, man, they went with the guy who got him to the Super Bowl. You can't. It's almost like it doesn't really matter. Trey can do whatever he wants to do anywhere else. They're going to look bad, but if they win the Super Bowl, that's the deal.
But all right, so
but if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl, or if Brock flames out and the Niners don't win the Super Bowl and they have to go to Kirk Cousins and Trey goes to Dallas, becomes a Pro Bowler and leads them to a Super Bowl, the Shanahan era might be over.
Well,
that might be it. Jed might say that's it.
Larry, let me get a word in. Optics matter, right? Just like how you have this, we traded a bus to Dallas on the screen while we're having this conversation. Optics matter, right? So all I'm saying is that for what we gave up for Trey, it's already a loss, right? I feel
you traded a bunch. You bought a Ferrari
this is a cool conversation to have, and I feel like it's a little bit of a diversion away from what we already know. I could give 2 shits about how good or bad Trey Lance is. What we gave up for him already is a fucking disaster.
Okay, but if
No. You got to admit that.
No, but here's my point, though.
Larry, I need you to admit it.
Wait a second. Well, let's talk about that for a second. Are we talking about the capital, or are we talking about what the capital ultimately became in players?
I'm talking about
because you can do it either way, right?
Larry,
here's my question to you.
Larry,
they got a 4th.
I'm answering you.
Okay.
Larry, you going back and forth about what was bad, getting stabbed or getting shot. Larry, all of it was bad.
We
Larry,
all know that they bought high and sold low. We know.
You're trying to like slice up the blame and try to figure out which piece tastes the worst. The whole casserole is fucked up. Okay, you can't say which part of the blame is really bad. No, it's all bad, Larry. It's all that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You wanted a franchise. I mean, I agree that the trade looks bad, but at the same time, your job is to get a franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. They have a franchise quarterback on a rookie deal.
Oh, wait a minute. Their goal was to get a franchise quarterback on a rookie deal after they striked out twice on two veterans, and one which they called the day before the draft, before they took their pick, which they did not even know who they wanted at the time, before they wanted to change it to say that we wanted to get a quarterback on a rookie deal. Larry, we have all been here. We know the story. I was born last night, but I was born at night, not last night. You can't sit here and talk about what he did. Oh, they wanted to get a quarterback on a rookie deal. They fell into that. And it's been a very good excuse for them to use because they went from screwing over veteran quarterbacks to screwing over young ones.
They get credit. Come on, you got to give them credit for the Purdy pick.
Hold on. What credit do you want to give them about the Trey Lance situation? You keep moving the goalposts.
No, I'm not moving the goal. I'm asking you a question. What exactly are you? For example, they traded Trey for a 4th-round pick. Okay, so a 4th-round pick is not much. But what if that 4th-round pick becomes Jerry Rice? Then they trade him for Jerry Rice, or they trade him for a 4th-round pick. Is it a bad deal because they traded him for a 4th-round pick? Or is it a great deal because they traded him for a pick that landed Jerry Rice? Do you see what I'm saying? What are we talking about? Are we talking about the capital, or are we talking about the players that the capital turned into? That's all I was asking you.
We're talking about the reality. Now, what you're talking about is the hypothetical of what this could turn into down the road. That's cool. If Trey Lance turns into good or bad, yeah, that's going to be the back end of how this story is going to materialize itself with time. But we have way more data in front of us right now. And you got to deal with what's in front of you right now. The Niners didn't deal with Trey for what they was going to do down the line. They got rid of Trey for what he showed them right now. So why can't we keep the same energy?
All I'm asking you is if, we're talking about down the road, how will this trade be viewed? To me, it will be viewed differently if Brock Purdy wins a championship and becomes great, as opposed to Brock Purdy, let's say this year shows that he was nothing more than a backup quarterback and falls out of favor, gets hurt. They're going to Kirk Cousins. He's a footnote. Trey goes to Dallas, becomes a star. Then in that situation, I think it's kind of, there's no way for John and Kyle to recover. They need Brock Purdy to play well.
For me. They don't get off the hook that fast for me with Brock. Brock is their guy. There's no way in the world that you're going to tell me that Brock won you 7 games, hurt twice, and you're going to be able to tell me that he's a backup quarterback in 1 season of football. Brock is still a rookie coming off of a serious injury, and he deserves all the time he needs. So that's what this is. And this is, I'm glad this came up, because you know what? The same way I defended Trey Lance, Brock Purdy's going to get the same advocacy when everybody starts raining down on him like he's supposed to be a franchise quarterback right away. So we don't get to find out.
Well, life ain't fair, man.
So now life ain't fair.
No, life ain't fair. No, life ain't fair. He has to. What I'm saying, what I mean by that is that Brock Purdy is a quarterback in his first year in the NFL for
He's
full
the
year.
Unquestioned starter that got labeled the real deal by his head coach.
Right. But listen to what I'm saying. He's a first-year starter. The expectations, when I say life ain't fair, the expectations are the expectations. He's expected to lead this 49er team in his first year to the NFC Championship game.
So you don't think we're going to have to carry Brock
are the expectations.
You don't think we're going to have to carry Brock at all throughout this season?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that whether it's fair or not, he's expected to carry the 49ers at least to the NFC Championship game. That a lot of people will look at that coach and say it's not fair. That's not fair expectations. It doesn't matter what's fair. Those are the expectations. But those are the expectations.
No.
You don't expect that? Niner fans do.
Now. There's the expectations of what the coaching staff is supposed to be doing, right? And then there's the expectation of what they put on the field. We haven't even seen Brock yet. I haven't seen him, right? I can look at him. I've seen a couple of plays, but I haven't really seen Brock. So what Brock is what I expect the team to be covering up for or supplanting for him, because we have a veteran team. So if Brock Purdy is an imperfect vessel and is the reason why we lose games, that's more of an indictment on our coaching staff and our team than Brock Purdy, because they are the ones who made him the unquestioned starter and brute forced him into this position, because they didn't say they won those 7 games. They said he legitly earned what he did, and what he showed was legit. So the practitioner of their expertise needs to be on point. They got to show us what they said they saw. It's not on Brock to just do it on his own. No.
Well, I mean, nobody does
Kyle
it on their own.
Kyle has got to protect Brock. Kyle has got to call the right plays for Brock. Kyle has got to write the right script. He's got to get over his ego and do what Brock likes and put him in the best light. We are going to have to really be a football team. Imagine that.
But my point is that there will be no I don't think we're disagreeing. I think we're just miscommunicating. There'll be no excuses. Like, it won't be an excuse to be like, well, hey, man, he's in his first year. It didn't happen this year. No. They have a loaded team. He's expected to lead them to the NFC Championship game at least. If he does better than that, that will be awesome. I'm just saying that life ain't fair. And it's not fair that Brock Purdy has this on his shoulders, because he didn't draft himself. He didn't create this situation. But guess what? It is the situation. So Niner fans are going to hold Brock and the Niners to high standards this year.
We're better. We're better. No, I don't. We're better than that, Larry.
The expectations are the expectations.
I don't think that Niners fans look at Brock and expect him to be like above and beyond what, like, we got to figure out what he is. We're better than that. They
don't expect him to be anything more than he's been. He's just do what he's done.
Lance. We're not going to do it to Brock. We're not doing that. Brock is hurt. Brock is recovering. Okay. They got him on Larry, the boy is on the pitch count. They got him on the pitch count.
What are you saying then, Coach? Are you saying that what are the expectations for the year then?
I'm saying 9-8.
So if they go 9-8 and duck out in the first round, that's, as far as you're concerned, they fulfilled expectations.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of other people that feel like they need to go, to the NFC Championship game because they were there last year, and that's the standard.
But
that they're inside their Super
Bowl.
Coach, you hear it. People say that, hey, they're inside their Super Bowl window. They're one of the most talented teams. They need to wind up in the Final Four.
But Larry, if that's not what the team,
I'm not saying it's fair. I'm saying it is what it is.
I understand what expectations. I get expectations, but if that's not what the team is showing you, right?
They haven't even played a game.
But that's what I'm saying. But from what I've seen.
Oh, you're talking about preseason? In the preseason?
Yeah, from what I've seen, the injuries,
in the preseason, they haven't been able to stop the run.
Wait a minute. And not just us, from the rest of the league. Other teams getting better. Another thing, Kyle said it himself, and I tend to agree with him. I was very, very locked in on our joint practices with Las Vegas, and they beat our asses like a drum. And it wasn't just in that damn game. It was in the practices too. You know what I'm saying? And
who cares? Nobody cares about that. I mean, seriously, nobody cares about joint practices once the game. After Pittsburgh, if they beat Pittsburgh next week by 35 points, nobody's going to say, yeah, but you know what? They got run off the field in the joint practices by the Raiders. Those are practices. I'd rather win them than lose them, but I'm just saying
it's so weird to hear you say that.
Well, they're practices. You didn't hear me overreacting to joint practices.
I know, but nobody. Hold on.
I wasn't overreacting to joint practices.
All right. In my opinion, I don't want to gatekeep the subject. In my opinion, there's a difference between overreacting and simply reacting to what you see. I'm not overreacting, but if you have a team that you're trying to get ready during camp and they had 2 bad practices before they got there, and then they get there and they're getting beat in every facet of the goddamn practice for multiple days, and then they actually show a game in front of us, and what we've heard, we see, that's not overreacting. That's simply reacting. Like, man, I never saw that. I never saw us get dominated like even when we were good, right? Like we still are good. But even last year when we had the number one defense, I didn't see any shit like that during preseason.
I don't put any. You can put whatever you want to in preseason.
Right.
I don't
Cool.
put a lot into preseason. That
Right.
wasn't even preseason. That was practice. I don't like practice stats. I don't put a lot into practice. But here's the thing: the odds. If you're right, then wouldn't the odds have moved? If people were really putting, if really people put a lot of emphasis in that, wouldn't they getting run off the field by the lowly Raiders have changed the Super Bowl odds? But it didn't change the Super Bowl odds at all.
Like I said, I don't, when I make my predictions or what I think the team is going to do, it's not with malicious intent. It's not because I, have some type of axe to grind, but, I am a see it to believe it type of person. Right. And I forecast what I see, in the moment, right? And I'm not trying to overreact and create a doomsday scenario for our team.
No, you got 9-8. You got 9-8.
But what I'm saying is that we're a team that has very high standards, right? And winning 10, 12 games a year is not easy. It's not easy.
No.
Right?
It's very difficult.
Yeah. So for me, we've got a lot of moving parts. I feel like the quarterback situation took away from a lot of good development that we could have had on our defense. I think our defense suffered the most out of this quarterback competition than any part of the team. And I believe that we don't look as ready as we did last year. Let me ask you that.
I agree.
Do we look as ready as we did last year?
Well, you
just said you agree, right?
I don't like
and we
the
haven't
trade-off.
played a game, so why do you agree if practice doesn't matter, Larry?
I'm just saying I can have observations of the team, but I'm not putting any credence in the fact that the Raiders ran the ball. I mean, look, I just asked Kyle Shanahan.
But all I'm saying is that you said that you just agreed with me that the team does not look ready. They don't look as good as they did last year.
Right.
And you just had a discussion with me saying that practice doesn't matter. Yet we have not played a game yet, and you can still ascertain that we do not look as good as we did last year.
Because I don't need to see. Yeah, I don't need to. Let me talk.
What have you been looking at? What have you been looking at to aggregate that you think the team is not as good as last year if you don't think practice matters?
Because I know the players. I know that Cleveland Farrell isn't as good as Samson Ebukam. I know that Austin Bryant.
How do you know?
Because I've watched them for years, and I've watched them going back to college.
You watched them
during NFL football games for the last 5 years.
Larry, you're being facetious.
No,
you're being facetious, Larry.
Coach, I had opinions about this before practice began. It's not about practice. Come on. It's not about practice. I know that Cleveland Farrell has 10 sacks in 4 seasons. I know that Samson Ebukam had 6.5 sacks last year. Samson Ebukam had more sacks last year than Cleveland Farrell has had in his entire NFL career. That's how I know he's better. I don't need practice in July with no pads to tell me what I'm seeing. I had an opinion about these guys before they even went to minicamp. And you did too, because we know NFL football and we've been watching it. And Austin Bryant and, to me, Charles Omenihu I think Charles Omenahu's better. And Jordan Willis is a lot better than older Kerry Hyder. I think the 49ers traded the cap of Javon Hargrave for the cap of Willis, Ebukam, and Omenihu. And I love the first-team D-line, but the second-team D-line, which is going to play a lot, doesn't look nearly as good. So that's what I'm saying. It's not based on what they did against the Raiders on some practice field, that even the people that were there were 150 yards away looking at tiny little things. It's like scouting something off a skyscraper. I don't put a lot of credence into that. Now, the Raiders beat them bad in the game, but I mean, are you going to tell me that you think the Raiders are going to have a better season than the Niners? So what does it all mean? Yeah. The Niners are better than the Raiders. Are they not?
We don't know. They had a joint practice with them and the Raiders beat their ass.
I know, but that's practice. All right, we're butting heads on this. It's stupid. Let me jump to this one. We were told that Trey Lance lost a training camp battle and a preseason battle to Sam Darnold.
And you said that it wasn't true.
I asked Kyle Shanahan this question. I said, what did Sam do to beat Trey? This is on the Friday night when he hit the presser. And he said, well, over the last 10 days, he did everything a lot better, and it was really noticeable to all of us. And I'm not sure all of us, I guess, meaning all the other coaches, all the other scouts, John Lynch. That's not necessarily what I saw. I saw a very comparable battle, but I'll throw it to you. Was that Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, quote-unquote competition, was it legit? Was it a legitimate competition, or are you with me? I believe they made up their mind before camp, and that Trey would have had to have been so much better than Darnold and Allen to win the job. And when he was similar, Darnold and Allen got the win, according to Kyle. I don't think there was a competition. I think it was predetermined. What do you think?
You're so nice, Larry.
Why? I'm just saying. I don't think it was a competition.
You're so nice.
I think it was. They made their decision on give me another example. I don't think Quantrez Knight against Isaiah Oliver was a competition. I think they made the decision in the offseason to bring in Oliver, and Quantrez would have been worlds better than him to beat him out. I thought he was better. They thought they gave the job to Oliver, put Quantrez on the practice squad, and cut Deshaun Jameson, who jetted off to Carolina. I don't like that move, but I thought that move was made in the offseason. And I get the feeling that the Lance Darnold competition really wasn't a competition, that it was a move to Lance in the offseason. That's kind of what I believe. What do you believe they legitimately competed this summer?
No. I'm worried about the type of camp that we had this year. Before this camp, right? Before this camp, one of the things that I used to be proud about this team was the meritocracy of competition. By doing what we're doing now, where we're letting money supersede competition, we're letting go of guys to be able to keep certain guys, to keep the team a certain way. And that happens every year. But when it happens this egregiously, you got to start asking yourself, well, how do you really gauge competition then if you're not willing to truly let a guy on the field that won the job, right? And for me, if Isaiah Oliver struggles this year, I'm going to know that, we let go of a guy that we found that could have been cheaper, but he was there for a fit. And when you start getting guys on the team that are there for a fit, instead of just being there to play football, you can kind of get yourself in a tough situation, right? Because then once they can't do their role, what are they good for? And really, if you look at our seasons in past, a lot of our success is off of guys picking up skill sets or guys picking up jobs during the season, right? We turned Debo into a running back to save our season, right? We took Jimmy Ward and took him out of safety, and Jimmy did everything for us throughout the season.
Should have re-signed him, I thought.
Should have re-signed him, man. I'm seeing these moves, and then we're keeping Isaiah Oliver and letting go of Quantrez Knight and Deshaun Jameson. You got to call it like it is. I don't like it. And it doesn't bode well, because what it says is that we're playing around with the competitive nature of football, and we think that we know better. And you're starting to see a lot of moves like that in our regime, like the going up to 3 just to get a guy. I understand that that's bad process, but you know what also that is? That's hubris. That's weird. Damn the mistakes. I understand how bad it could go, but we're so good at what we do that we're not going to be anywhere near the fringes. And that's the type of moves that I'm starting to see from us that are a little worrying. They are.
It's funny. Somebody in here had a good one. Where is it? It was about Wilkes. Oh, here it is. Oh, let me read this one first from MD. MD 2020 says, we 49er fans expect Super Bowl or bust because Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and the team expects it. So we will hold them accountable to that expectation, period.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Joe Latu says, I wonder if he's related to Cam, says Oliver was brought in by Steve Wilkes to be the starter at nickel. Fail. Well, here's the thing. I kind of agree with this one from Joe Latu. But how do you feel about this, Coach? Because you understand the coaching dynamic on staffs in the NFL. So they bring in Steve Wilkes. They make him the defensive coordinator. You saw him in the war room on draft day. He was very much involved, shaking everybody's hands. You could tell he was very much involved in the process.
He was.
And he probably was also involved in the free agent process. And since Oliver played in his division, he coached for Carolina. Oliver played for Atlanta. He had firsthand look at Oliver, and he's a defensive backfield guy. And he may have said to Lynch, I want Oliver. And they said, okay. And they paid Oliver $4 million. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to hold Steve Wilkes' feet to the fire if this defense isn't any good. Do they owe him, like, if he likes Oliver and he went and told you guys, hey, sign Oliver, and you said, okay, we're signing Oliver, do you owe it to Steve if you're going to hold his feet to the fire at the end of the year if it doesn't work to let him go with the guys that he wants to go with as opposed to the guys that I wanted to go with or you wanted to go with, like a Jameson, like a Quantrez? I thought those guys outplayed Oliver, to be honest.
And me
but
too.
if you're gonna hold Steve's feet to the fire at the end of the year, which I think they're going to, don't you have to let him, buy the groceries or pick the guys?
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's a sign of good faith. It's letting us know that we really believe that you're here to do a job. So
it's tough though, isn't it? Because
and that's why,
we all saw the other guys were better this summer. On
this subject. My energy is completely changed, bro, because it just doesn't forebode well because you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. You can't bring a guy in to be your DC and then have a defense like the one we have and just tell him, like, don't touch anything, just coach. Like, you can't, you cannot do that. That's neutering professional. Like, you know what I mean? You can't do that. So I know that, and also, we're forgetting the fact that he brings a different skill set. He's a secondary SME, right? He's a secondary subject matter expert. So he brings something that it seems as though, if we're looking at it from a Niners perspective, it was a get. Like, hey man, we needed him. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Even though,
yes,
quite frankly, we should have Vic Fangio, but whatever. But.
Well, let me. Okay, wait. One second. Before that, Grant's been touting that horn yesterday as well on the radio. Would you have switched to a 3-4 to go and gotten rid of Kosaric to not go with Wilkes, but to bring in Fangio? Because Fangio is a 3-4 disciple. He's been going 3-4. I think we would have lost
Kosaric.
Well, it sounds like if you went Vic, then you're not going wide 9. Which is Kasaric's baby, and I think they wanted to keep Kosaric in the wide 9. They liked what they were doing up front. I think the attraction of Wilkes was he was willing to blend to their current staff.
Well, what would you have done there? What's kind of crazy is that schematically, yeah, it is a wide 9, but really with the 34, the only thing, in my opinion, that would kind of change with Coach Kosaric is that he would just get outside linebackers in this group now instead of just straight linemen. Right.
But it's a different scheme. Aren't the 3-4? I mean, most 34 fronts that I've seen, everybody's got a gap and you got 2 gappers up front. So you have different personnel. And then you also have kind of a read and react type front in your 3 down linemen. And in a 4-3 wide 9, it's kind of everybody. You're looking for one gap penetrators, get up the field, put heat on the quarterback. I mean, it seems like you're asking your defensive lineman, one, to have different body types and to play a different style.
Yeah. It would definitely not be a 1-to-1 mapping Like, I would have loved to have Vic Fangio, to be honest with you.
I know.
I would have loved to have him.
He's got more pelts on the wall.
He's class personified as far as defense is concerned. I mean, and that is no knock on Coach Wilkes, but if I had my pick, right?
Where did Fangio went to Miami?
Miami, yeah.
Miami,
yeah. He went to Miami, and it's almost kind of a perfect fit because now he gets to give Miami the side of the business on why he knows how to stop that offense. That's what's going to help Miami big time. You know what I'm saying? So, having him in the building would have helped.
And believe me, Jed loves Vic Fangio. I mean, it would have been very popular with the owner. I just think
he was here as a consultant.
Yeah,
before.
They just love Krueger.
Yeah,
they love Krueger, and they love what they're getting done up front, and they didn't want to switch it, and so that's why they went with Wilkes. What worries me, I'll tell you what worries me a little bit about Wilkes, is the fact that he's coached for like 20 years, and he's been in like 20 spots, and I'm listening to him like D'Amico, coach, was always never would say a bad word about any player, which I didn't love as a reporter, because it's like, hey man, be honest with us. It's like nothing that came from D'Amico was all that valuable because he always covered his guys.
Company line.
I'm sure he was popular with the players. Steve, on the other hand, is candid and harsh. And I get the feeling if this defense can't stop the run in September, he's going to call dudes out. Now he may not. He's not going to disown them. He's not going to say, "Hey, they did it, wasn't me." He'll own it, but he'll own it and call them out. Where D'Amico, I think, would own it and just he would say positive things about the players. And I'm just wondering how that's going to shake out, how the players are going to react if he starts saying, "Hey, you know what? Eric Armstead needs to be better against the run inside," or, "Hey, Drake Greenlaw missed that." He said it. He said it when in the Charger game when Joshua Kelly ran for 75 yards. He's like, the rookie linebacker got out of his lane. Well, he's calling it straight, and I respect the hell out of that. But in the regular season, that's almost like pointing the finger.
Well, are you trying to say that we've got somebody that is accountable on the defensive side of the ball? This is a veteran defense.
Yeah, I know.
There's not a lot of young guys on that side of the ball. And really, they have their own standard outside of Coach Wilkes to keep, right?
Sure.
And really, when you get a guy like Coach Wilkes, you almost do need a little bit of a manager, a guy who's going to be able to point things out because he already has a template and an expectation of what he's working for. I understand that, you get a defense and you want to show up, or not a defense, but just a unit. And, as a coach, you want to show up for the new year and, you want to get the same old speech. Last year doesn't matter. We're all about getting everything together this year, but it's hard to do that when you got the number one goddamn defense. Like, they're the number one defense. So, really, I like it. They can handle it. That's really my point. They can handle a little scrutiny. And truth be told, if it's true, it's true. I mean, right after Brock tore his UCL, Kyle was right on the camera saying that he made the wrong drop. So if Brock can get it, everybody's fair game. Like,
sure.
You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be, it's a departure, though.
It's that Brock essentially got hurt because there was a part of the play that he didn't execute right. And Brock, we all, it's been well documented how Kyle has spared no cut cards on when he talks about Jimmy, especially after a bad game. So I kind of feel like Coach Wilkes, if anything, is just following the head man, right?
Yeah. No, it's total. You're right. It's totally in line with Shanahan. Shanahan's the same kind of way. He will deal it straight and he'll verbalize his frustration. But it's a departure from D'Amico, and also it makes you wonder. I mean, Grant thinks that there's a chance Wilkes is the fall guy if this doesn't work this year. I'm eager to see. I'm eager to see how the whole dynamic plays out. Couple last ones. Who would you go with at kicker? Moody or Wright? They signed Matthew Wright. He used to kick for the Steelers, so he has experience kicking at Heinz Field. Now, I don't know this because I've never been to Heinz Field, but they say Heinz Field is one of the hardest NFL stadiums to kick in because of the surface and the wind and, crosswinds. And Wright does have experience kicking there. Would you rather go with the rookie or who's maybe your future for the next decade in week one? Or would you rather say, hey, rest up the quad. Let's go with Matthew Wright. He's a veteran. He's got more experience at Heinz Field. This could decide the game ultimately. So what do you think?
They got to go with Wright. He's healthy. I think they should preserve Moody's just kind of preserve Moody's body. Number one, if he's not healthy, don't play him. And it's it's a leg injury and he's a kicker. Is it on the kicking leg? Do you know?
I don't know. I would imagine it probably is. I mean,
right.
Shanahan said that he's optimistic that Moody could be ready for the game. It is. It's on his kicking leg. So it's his right quad. And of course, they could have gone to Zane Gonzalez, but they put him on IR. He had a right calf injury. So, Gonzalez is done for the year. They did work out Tristan Vizcaino and Taylor Russolino on Monday and then signed Matthew Wright to the practice squad on Thursday. And Shanahan went on the radio and said that he's optimistic that Moody will return in time to play week one. He was asked about it. He says, I feel a lot better than it was a few days ago because he's had that strain. Talking about Moody, he's kicked here these last couple days, and he's looked good doing it. We're not pushing him too hard. I'm feeling optimistic he'll be ready for week one. But if he's not, we're not going to jeopardize him, and we'll go with the practice squad kicker and make sure Moody is ready for week two. Wright, by the way, he doesn't get named by the coach. He gets called the practice squad kicker. Wright is 40 of 46 career, 35 of 37 on extra points. So that's long. I don't have as long, but I don't have it in front of me here. Let me see. I think it might be 50-something yards. He's got a booming leg, they say.
We'll take it. I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's a kicker. Let's get one who can make the thing about not having a kicker is I don't know. It's almost kind of like the smallest little thing that everybody expects you to have. I understand that having a kicker is a weapon, but having no kicker just looks disgusting. We got to have a kicker that can at least get us in range and make kicks. It is one of the most kind of annoying things about our team because of the fact that we spent the 3rd round pick on this kid, and we actually we got another guy in the building to kind of supplant the fact that he got hurt and they both ended up getting hurt. That kind of just proves the fact that you don't make a high price plan on kickers, right? This one matters.
His long is 59. He's made 2 field goals that went 59, one that went 56, and his career record on 50-plus yard field goals, he's attempted 8 and made 6. So that's not bad.
Just play him. It's just a kicker, bro. Just play him.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I hate to sound so unartful about this, but it is a kicker, man. Just play the
veteran. Give me your thoughts of the Steelers. What are you thinking we're going to see from the Steelers? They had an undefeated preseason. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. They are awesome week one at home. What are you expecting to see from the Steelers? I mean, are they how good of a team are they? I mean, and is it going to be what do you think the challenge is? Is it stopping Najee and Warren in the backfield, or do you think the real challenge is putting heat on Kenny Pickett against their line? It could be Nick Bosa against a rookie tackle and Broderick Jones making his first start, and it could be Debo, Ayuk, and Juwan against Levi Wallace, Joey Porter Jr., and Patrick Peterson. Peterson used to be great, but he's old. Joey Porter's going to be great, but he's a rookie in his first NFL start. Levi Wallace is just kind of a guy. How do you see Steelers in Week 1? How do you see the matchup?
Well, they're going to be stout. My head's been down the whole time because I keep forgetting this kid's name. They've got there he is, Keanu Benton.
The Wisconsin nose tackle.
Man, this kid has been whooping ass all preseason.
Really?
He's a problem. So that's what I was looking for the entire time. I forgot his name. I did a little bit of looking at Pittsburgh. Now this is from Vish. Vish pointed this out to me, but Brock Purdy and Kenny Pickett are pretty much one of one. They're pretty much the same type of athlete. Kenny's got a little bit more of an arm, a little bit more juice, and just a bigger platform. He's just a bigger kid. But I'm more worried about them defensively on what they'll do to our offense because they are stout up front on their defensive line. Tua's back. TJ's playing. TJ's gonna be there and ready to go.
TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith coming off the edges, Keanu Benton, who's about 310 on the nose, Cam Hayward and Ogunjobi are the big defensive ends.
Really,
Cam Hayward's a problem.
Yes. Yeah. So for me, I want us to see what we're going. I'm really interested in seeing how we're going to, dominate the game up front. We are a running football team. If we start trying to engineer a run game with short passes, that stuff is going to look cute for a quarter. And then they're going to start playing press man, and they're going to force us to throw the ball long or run the ball. I want to be able to see us against Pittsburgh to dominate on the ground. I'm really not even really looking for a big day out of Brock. We should be able to put our calling card out there. God damn it, they're fresh. CMC's barely had a camp, right? He's getting held out. They just put out a report about how they're going to use him throughout the season because they want him to be utilized for the duration. So really, I expect us to have a heavy dose of running the ball from all different perspectives. I feel like we're going to do a lot of outside zone. Elijah looks like he's finally kind of level setting right at the right time with his health. And I'm going to be looking for us to, I'm going to be also, another thing, usually, Kyle tends to get a hot hand and run it back and just goes with the hot hand, right?
How is he going to divvy those carries up?
I think that's going to be interesting this year because you can't just go with the hot hand because you have a true starting running back now, right? So Christian
you got a star, yeah.
He's a star, right? So you can't moneyball the running back room anymore like you used to, where the hot hand, whoever's going today is going to be the guy that I'm just going to run into the ground, and it doesn't matter because we don't pay him shit. It's like, nah, that's a whole different ball game with Christian, and I'm really interested to see how they're going to utilize the run game, how they're going to divvy up the carries. Is JP Mason going to be our legit number 2? Or what are they going to do with Elijah? Are they going to use Elijah for a lot of the passing game stuff and a lot of the outside game stuff to really get him out in the spaces and utilize his speed, but at the same time, keeping a lot of wear and tear off of him? That's kind of what I'm seeing as I'm talking about it. Really, I feel like Elijah and Christian are going to get like gentlemen's carries. They'll get like the best carries, right? Outside zone, wheel routes, 3-by-1 coming out of the backfield. But I feel like all of your 21 and 12 personnel and all of your fullback inside zone, gap scheme, running the ball type of initiatives, I think that's going to be more JP Mason and TDP.
It's going to be a major challenge to run against the Steelers. I just get the feeling, and to me, I'm eager to see how well the Niners run to the right side this year without McGlinchey.
And that's a whole other conversation too.
Oh, I know. McKivitz has looked good, but we'll see if they can run it to the right side. A couple last ones before we read a couple supers and call it quits. Give me your number one concern going into the season. Is it the run D? Is it the depth of pass rush? Is it Brock? Is it McKivitz? Is it turnovers? Is it what's your? Do you have a number one? Is it the offensive line? Is it, what is your number one? Is Isaiah Oliver? If you said, okay, you know what, on the list of concerns, this one stands out to me. What's the primary concern for you?
Well, the tenets of football are being able to stop the run and run the ball. That's it. That's my biggest worry about this team, because that's the number one thing that would never make me worry about anything else that branched off of that, right? Having a weak secondary, injuries, not really being able to get the quarterback situation tamped down, sitting back with trying to figure out what we're going to do with our running backs, the injuries there. What is always kind of giving me like that security blanket with our team is that I know that where it counts, we're elite. And that's in the trenches. We can run the ball. We may not have the best linemen, but we can run the ball and we can stop the run. And I don't feel that way this year. That's my biggest worry.
Which one? The running game or stopping the run?
Just the trenches, being able to run the ball and stop the run.
Both. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the D line stopping the run. I don't believe the preseason meant nothing at all when you watch it in its entirety against the run. They did nothing against the run, and it wasn't like the ones were good, the twos were bad. The ones, the twos, the threes were all bad. So they never really stopped the run. Now, I will give them a little bit of a pass in that Jalen Graham and D. Winters are young linebackers who played a lot in the second half, and they were aggressive. And Graham got out of position a couple times. I thought Winters got out of position a couple times. So maybe that's part of it. But I really don't like the personnel on the defensive line against the run, Coach. That, to me, is the biggest concern. Like, I look at the D-line, and I see Hargrave. And I was talking to a guy from Philly the other day. He's like, Hargrave's awesome against the pass. He's not great against the run. Kevin Givens, one-gap penetrator. Kalia Davis, who I thought that was a surprise that Kalia made the roster. But he's also a great pass rusher, one-gap penetrator. The guys who are supposed to be the rundown guys who can stop the run are Armstead and Kinlaw. I have confidence in Armstead. I got to see Kinlaw do it. I'm a little concerned that they don't have that plugger, that A-gap plugger. There's so much about get up the field. There's so much about one gap and go. There's so much about penetrate and, pursue the quarterback. You got to have one defensive tackle that's a true anchor against the run, and they haven't had it since DJ left. And I'm concerned by that. It's not. I think they can stop the run east-west. I'm concerned about the run in the A gap. That's my number one concern.
Yeah, I understand. It's ironic that you would notice and be worried about the lack of the run game in preseason.
Stop.
It's very funny, Larry.
Stop.
Bring up my comment.
Stop. All right.
Bring it up. Bring it up.
Two last ones. Give me the player that you're most excited about this year on the Niners. The number one, the guy that you're like, when you go to turn on Niners Steelers, and man, you flip on that TV, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to watch who on the Niners. Who's the guy you're most excited to see this year?
Brandon Ayuk.
Yes. I'm with you. That's a good call. He looks spectacular. He looks spectacular in practice, Coach. He looked awesome in the preseason.
How do you know he looks good, Larry? Where have you been watching him?
He looked good against the Raiders.
Yeah. Where'd you get
Vegas.
this osmosis?
In the joint practices, he lit it up.
Yo.
No, but he has looked good in practice. He has.
I am excited to see BA. Really, I'm just excited to see them all.
Uh-oh.
My bad.
Coach?
I got a call.
Okay.
Yeah, but really, they've done a good job over the offseason. The boys getting ready. You know what I'm saying? And I do want to see Debo. It'd be good to see. It looks like Debo was in like the best shape of his life, or at least looks like he did his rookie year. He looks great.
And he did a lot of boxing. He said to cut weight and he looks lean, man. He looks lean and fast.
Yeah. So, everybody on the defense, I'm excited to see how Jair Brown looks with our defense.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see that. I mean, I want to see what Javon looks like, and really, so who won the Sam Becker competition? Who's our Aziz replacement?
Burks. If he's healthy. Yeah, Marcelino's a Jet now. Burks is a good football player. I'll say that. He's a good football, he's solid. He's solid. He's not Aziz, but he's solid.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll tell you the two guys. I'm excited for Kalia because Kalia is 320 and fast. And I know he was hurt, so we didn't see him a lot this summer. But they got him healthy. They got him out there. He looked good in the last preseason game as far as penetrating against the run. He was better against the run than I thought. And he's fast. I mean, he's really fast. So I'm eager to see Kalia Davis in pass rush mode, in that rotation. I'm really eager to see Braden Willis. I just get the feeling that Braden Willis, coach, is going to emerge in those two tight end sets as the other really dangerous receiving tight end. I think he's got a lot there.
Yeah. Braden Willis is somebody who I'm excited to see. I just want to see them all, honestly. I know that's a cop-out, but I want to see what Trent looks like, if he's still Trent,
Yeah.
I want to see what Spencer Burford looks like. Everybody's saying that he's gotten more mature, he's gotten a better body. I want to see what he looks like. It's going to be like going in the candy shop, man, because I'm going to be looking at everybody, right? I want to see what Sam Bowman, I want to see what Demo looks like, right? Demo changed his whole body over the offseason. He looks noticeably bigger, right? So
stronger, much stronger. And
much stronger.
This year, Demo's a hitter.
You can see
last year
he got some stingrays going.
Right. Last year he was a grab and drag tackler. This year he's hitting guys. He's really hitting guys. So he could be real physical, and that's why I think they feel good about Demo in the slot. And I'll be eager to see who plays the slot in week 1 because I think Demo's better than Oliver.
And then really,
go ahead.
I feel like because of what we spent on Oliver and for what we've seen thus far, I don't think we're looking at this from a 10,000-foot view. We still got Darrell Luter Jr. coming off pup.
Who's healthy. I just don't think they wanted to start his clock and
exactly
waste that roster spot. So they're going to slow play him. But you're right. He's a different cat because you're talking about
Darrell Luter Jr.
ridiculous arm length.
It makes you. I agree, Larry.
And he can play man.
You kind of feel good about what they probably saw in Deshaun and in Quantrez, where it's like, God, you guys play so much outside of your frame, but we need size. We can't. I understand that what you guys bring is above and beyond what we see optically from you, and you can't get enough guys like that on the team. But for what we have in this kid, he can bring us what you guys give us, and we get the frame on top of it. And Larry, that's the best of both worlds, right?
He allows you to play man. That's what Mooney can play man or he can play zone, but they've played a lot of zone because they feel like they haven't matched up and they prefer zone. I think Wilkes is going to play more man. I think you're going to see more linebacker blitzes, but I think on the back end, you're going to see more man-to-man.
Yeah, I think we're going to be from years past. I think the Niners really leaned on their defense. That's why there could be a silver lining to this D-line stuff. I don't think that they didn't see the fact that they were going to take a bath on depth on their D-line. I think they saw that coming, right? And how they're probably, if we're going glass half full, how they probably are going about this will be from a position of, all right, look, we can't pay these guys. And one of the main reasons why we had to put so much into our defensive line is because of the fact that our secondary was so woefully bad, right? So we got a subject matter expert in here who knows how to get him, who knows how to get the boys right. We're going to bring in some of his guys based on the defense, because this has got to be a sobering conversation for the Niners as well, right? They've had Salah, they've had D'Amico in the building, and, you know, these guys are, well, they're very good at knowing the defense, but they're linebackers guys, right? And sometimes it could have been a complete, you know, breath of fresh air to have Coach Wilkes come into our enclave and sit him down, and for him to kind of almost reset our secondary SOP on how we go about this defense, to kind of say, all right, guys, I know you had some guys in here before, but you can't run this defense with a guy that small, right? You can't run this. I know you guys usually like to just kind of bring guys in because the strength of your defense is your front seven, but this ain't going to work for what you need to do. So maybe they are leaning on Coach Wilkes a little bit more, and as a result, they feel as though, all right, we'll let go of our depth, but I'll see your depth with the number one interior pass rusher in free agency, and we got Nick that we're going to pay. So, and then, you know, in order for us to kind of at least soften the blow a little bit, we'll bring in Cleveland Ferrell. We'll draft Robert Bill. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, there's a way that they could be going about this, you know?
I'm okay with paying a great free agent great instead of good free agents very good. You know what I mean? That's I think their choice. They decide to pay a great player great money in Hargrave and not play good players like Willis, who got cut, Amenahue and Ebukam great money. And I don't fault them for that, really. Let's hit the supers, and then we'll get out of here. I got one last one for you. Michael Alanis says, if the 49ers can get through what we thought would be a PR disaster with Trey, a more polarizing pick than Nick Bosa, they can quickly get over the Nick PR nightmare. I don't think they care what fans think. That was when I was asking earlier about will they trade Nick Bosa. Holland Tracy says, Brock's job is to be like John Stockton, the point guard, get the Rock to the greatest roster in the NFL. Yeah, get it out of your hand quick.
Let me say this. John Stockton was also a Hall of Famer as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
exactly. Let's not do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying the standards are too high there.
Yeah, John Stockton wasn't just okay at what he did. He was phenomenal at what he did, right? Like,
exactly. Let's not forget how good he was.
Yeah, like, and this kind of falls on your dink and dunk argument, which I agree with you. Being a distributor is nothing more than being a gunslinger. They're two different skill sets, but you still have to do them both at an elite level, right? Like, just because you're a distributor doesn't mean that you're any less of a quarterback because you're not a gunslinger, right? So saying that Brock needs to be a point guard, you better hope his ass is Jason Kidd, right? Because there's bad point guards too.
Coach, I had a great opportunity Thursday to live out somewhat of a broadcasting dream. Though I've interviewed him before. I had Joe Montana on the radio, and I asked him about Brock, and here's what he said. I'm going to share the screen here. This is from 95.7 The Game on Twitter, their site. So I want to give proper credit.
One thing you can look at are things that you said.
Here we go.
Joe, let's talk a little bit about Brock. A lot of things that he does well. I mean, he processes well. He throws with timing. He throws with accuracy. A lot of the same things that you did. Do you people have compared him, and obviously that could be a burden because of how great of a player you were. But do you see any similarities in your game compared to his? And what do you think of Purdy so far?
Well, I never really try to compare, one quarterback to another because the styles are all different.
Sure.
But the one thing you can look at are the things that you said that, he processes quickly, ball comes out of his hand quickly, he makes good decisions, and he throws accurately. And you can't ask more of a quarterback. And as you can see, that system fits him and his style because he plugged in pretty quickly there. I mean, to come in from where he was and be thrown into that game, hey, my hat's off to him. I look forward to seeing him play. He's exciting, and he's got a pretty good team with him, and that always helps out a quarterback anytime when you got some weapons like they do.
Joe, let's talk.
There you go. A little bit of the great one, Joe Montana there. It's like, and you never want to compare anybody to Montana. I mean, that's just tough. I mean, it's like comparing an outfielder to Willie Mays or something. It's like, come on, there's only one Willie Mays. There's only one Joe Montana. But I did find that interesting that he likes the fact that more than anything, he kind of emphasized the ball coming out of his hand. Just, in other words, don't hold it. Just get rid of it. Distribute the ball. We were mentioning John Stockton. It kind of jogged that same thought. Yeah. Be the point guard. You don't have to do everything, but you got to get the ball out. You got to get it out on time, and you got to get it out with accuracy. I think Brock can do it, but then defenses are going to force him to throw it deep at times. He's going to have to show he can do that too.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Brock needs time to be able to do his job. I feel like, and this is what's going to be beautiful about the maturation of Brock, is that as he progresses and as he succeeds, it's going to be a little bit. I feel like we're going to get what we always wanted, and we're going to get to the point where it's going to be Brock's team. We're not going to be asking Kyle about what he dialed up or what did he think on that play. As Brock progresses, we're going to turn into a traditional football team, what it really looks like. Like, Brock is going to be the guy who we want to talk to about how we won, lost, or, tied this game. So I'm very happy that this is an offense that was put in as a scheme, but I think they messed around and actually found a kid who's going to take it over. And I'm happy about that, because that's what football is, right? We can't be telling him, we can't turn him into a robot. We can't protect him that way. The best things about Brock is what he shows us off script and what he shows us through his own development being a quarterback. That's what I want to see on another level. And hopefully his body can hold up.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. Daryl, 49er for life, Smock says the Traders, talking about the Raiders, won 15 preseason games in a row, but can't make it to the playoffs. So them beating us means nothing, Coach.
Let me say this.
I think he's confusing them with the Ravens, but I don't think the Raiders did. Did they?
Let me say this. I don't care about wins, and you never heard me say that we lost to the Raiders.
You're just talking about what you saw.
I'm talking about us getting our ass whooped. There's a difference in caring about the win and the loss of a game and looking at the performance of your team. I don't care that we won or lost games. I don't care. But when we are optically getting pushed around the field like furniture, that is a problem. I don't care.
And it happened, and it wasn't just that game either. It was all three preseason games. So that's why I asked the question to Kyle, because there wasn't like that Raider game. I saw a lot of that game. I saw every minute of that game. The practices I don't know because I wasn't at. But in the game, it was the 9 or 2s against some of the Raider 1s. But that wasn't the case in the next two games. In the next two games, Denver had their guys, Niners had their guys. And in the third game, Niners had their 1s going against the Chargers 2s. So, the Niners didn't stop the run in the preseason. Did not, any of the games. And it sounded like they got pushed around on the field in Vegas during the practices too. But so that to me was a consistent theme throughout the summer. And when I asked Shanahan about it, he said, yeah, if you were basing our run defense grade on what we did in the preseason, I'd be nervous too. Because we were number one against the run. I expect us to be better. But you could tell by the length of the answer, he talked for about a minute, that it was like, hey, you know what? He's concerned about this too. It's not like it's just me concerned. He's concerned too. Damon Dickerson says, forgive me if I missed it. I missed the opening. Did the 49ers get better or worse this offseason? No hedging. Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. What do you think, Coach? Are the Niners better or worse from what we saw at last year and the team that went to the championship game? Are they a better team or a worse team? They've got Hargrave, but they don't have Jimmy Ward. They don't have Emmanuel Mosley. They don't have D'Amico. They don't have Aziz. They have Oliver. They have Hargrave up front makes a big difference, but then they don't have the depth. They don't have Ebukam, Amenahue, Jordan Willis. So what do you think? Are they better than last year or are they worse?
Well, what are we basing it off of?
Well, let's just say what you think as far as not record, because they play a different schedule, right? So like you've already told us 9-8, and they won more than that last year. So we know that you think they'll have a lesser record. But do you think that they are an equal football team, a better football team, or a worse football team than the one you saw last year, talent-wise?
Oh, man, talent-wise.
Last year they had McGlinchey. This year they had McKivitz. Last year,
yeah, but they have Javon Hargrave now.
They have Hargrave. They didn't have him last year.
We have CMC for the full year now. We didn't start with CMC.
Right. You have CMC the full year. They averaged 6 points a game more with him.
Demo is better than he was last year.
Ayuk is better than he was last year.
But is Demo better than E-Man?
I'd say probably not.
Right.
And to me, the biggest loss is last year's team had Jimmy freaking Ward, and this year's team does not. I think that's the biggest change as far as
Huff
negative.
is better.
Huff is a little better.
And what if they riddle me? Let's just. You can tell me I'm completely whack as hell for throwing this out there. But what if Jair Brown kind of gets given the Jimmy role? You know what I mean? What if they give Jair Brown the Jimmy Ward role, where they keep him close to the line of scrimmage, they latch him on the tight ends. You know, because he's more quick than he is fast, but he's got long functional speed. That'd be perfect for tight ends. He's scrappy. They can keep him attached to the line of scrimmage to be a willful blitzer, and he would give a lot of continuity in the run game. I mean,
he's a very competitive player. Personality-wise, he's very competitive.
Yeah, so it could work. You know, another thing is that it's hard for us to look at better or for worse when we've had these guys with us for so long. At one point, Jimmy was like the most tenured guy on the team, right? So, like,
should have kept him, man. I don't get why they didn't keep him.
Money, man, money.
But he didn't get that much money. He only got $6 million, I think.
But at the time, he was probably still at large on the market. You know, money matters when it matters. You know, literally like at the time of, right?
Right.
It's like our 4th round pick that we got for Trey. We love that in the moment, but you know, what if 5-6 quarterbacks went down in the next week? We would have hated that deal. You know what I mean? So I understand that for now it looks like Jimmy being gone, and I bellyached with you, man. I wish he was still in the building, especially for what we lost him for. But I'm trying my best to go half glass full because we haven't even played a game yet, you know. And I don't want to be so tilted over. We don't even know how the league is going to respond to what we believe is going on with our team, right? So we understand. We've been here all summer, right? But there's also 31 teams who have something to say about that as well. So it's going to be a ride, Larry. It's going to be a ride.
It's going to be fun. Last question on the way out here. Give me your, I mean, you know, next time we do this show will be the day before the season and before the Niners season. But the season will begin Thursday night. Kansas City and Detroit in the kickoff game. So this is our last show before the season actually starts.
Right.
So I thought this would be a perfect time. Let's give our Super Bowl matchups. Who do you have in the bowl in Vegas when it's all said and done? And the chalk obviously is Eagles Chiefs. That's the chalk. That's the chalky pick.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of people make that pick, by the way. Oh, it's Eagles and Chiefs again.
You know who I think the Chiefs are afraid of, low key? Cincinnati.
Yeah, they don't beat them. Burrow owns them.
Yeah, I think that if they're gonna do it, Cincinnati finally gets over the hump, and it'd be Cincinnati, Philly.
Two teams that did not win at all in the preseason. They both went 0-2-1 in the preseason.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if that matters, but here's the teams that ran the table in the preseason. Pittsburgh went 3-0. Jacksonville went 3-0. Commanders went 3-0. And the teams that were winless in the preseason, the Bengals, the Eagles, the Panthers, and the Rams. So you're going Cincinnati and who?
Philly.
Cincinnati, Philly. I'm going Niners, Chargers. I got to go Niners because I put too much time into it, and I'm there too much, and it's like, you know what? I don't know. I think to me, it's a 2-team conference. It's Niners, Eagles.
You got to make it make sense.
I'll go Niners, but Chargers. Give me your thought on Chargers because this is what I see.
They're always so close.
They're always close, but they're always hurt.
Coach, it's the head coach.
I know. I don't like that.
I don't have you can wrap up the Chargers in a 30-minute.
They got great talent, man.
Huh?
Great talent. They got great talent.
They have amazing talent. It's their head coach.
It's Brandon Staley.
It's Brandon Staley, man.
He goes for it way too much on fourth down.
Bro, if there's any quarterback that is getting their head coach fired with their performances, it's Justin Herbert. Every time Justin Herbert gets trotted out on the field and has those games to the chagrin of his own coaching staff, it's amazing. They don't help him. They don't help him at all.
He's 500, in his career. 500.
It's unreal. It's
He's
unreal.
talented as hell.
They're like living their lives in a whole nother NFL twilight zone because really they should be Super Bowl contenders every year. They're ridiculously talented. They're in a market presumably all by themselves. I mean, and I think Justin Herbert, the only thing that I'll say about Justin Herbert is that he's got to do it in the big moment. He's had some really great preseason. He's had some really good regular season games, but I would just love to see Justin Herbert kind of take the next step, right? I feel like he's kind of really, if you think about it and this would be a shame, but football is so fast that all it takes is Trevor Lawrence to have one playoff win and come out and do his thing. And people are looking at Trevor Lawrence better than he's better than Justin Herbert. It's that quick, in my opinion.
A lot of people like Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people like Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Last one here. Bazemian says, an interesting stat. Quarterbacks who made their Super Bowl debut with a loss have returned back to play in the Super Bowl over the last 20 years. Wait. Quarterbacks who have made their Super Bowl debut with a loss, like Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Have not returned back to play in the Super Bowl over the last 20 years.
So if they lost their first year, they ain't come back in 20 years.
They haven't come back. That's interesting.
That kills my Eagles pick, man.
That kills the Eagles pick. So much for that. All right, Coach. Great stuff. Hey, glad to see you're back on the back from the trip. You got any big plans this weekend? You got any good Labor Day weekend plans? Hannibal going to get out an extra run, maybe? On the Labor Day. You got a holiday Monday, a little holiday weekend.
We're getting it together, Larry. I'm about to drop some news on the next show. So
nice.
We'll be close. We're close. I'll let you know. So on Saturday, I'll talk to you.
That sounds good. Coach, have a great week. Enjoy the NFL opener Thursday night, and we'll talk to you next Saturday.
All right. See you, Larry.
There you go. The coach. What? Coach, what
I just said I'm about to get some rest. I'm dog tired.
Oh, that's right. You've been traveling. All right, man. Good to see you. Have a great day. There you go. The coach. Back from his trip to Peru. All right. That is going to do it for us. Let's thank our sponsors. We have a brand new sponsor. Of course, our latest new sponsor, MarinAutoGlass.com, 415-883-3030. We're also brought to you by New York Style Sausage Company. And, of course, the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. I was there yesterday in Emeryville having a little pig in a pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. They've got 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Yesterday I was there. I had the brisket. It was amazing. I had the pulled pork. It was fantastic with the smoke rings, and their barbecue sauce is incredible. Had a little potato salad, a little root beer. Very nice lunch there, Pig and a Pickle. It's good to see Damon Stainbrook, the owner. Go say hi to Damon. Go say hi to Mary. Tell him that Larry Krueger sent you. And if you look in the top corner here, you'll see our brand new sponsor, and check them out. You're going to love Underdog Fantasy. Check out our new sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. And if you click the link in the description and sign up, you can sign up using the promo code Krueg, Krueg, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. That's right. We'll be using Underdog Fantasy every week this football season to do fantasy tournaments with our listeners. All right. Appreciate every single one of you. Time for me to jet because I'm going to go watch a little UW Boise State. I took UW minus the 14. We'll see how it works out. I don't feel really confident, but I love Michael Penix. But here is a quick word from our sponsors once again. Pig and a Pickle.
So New York style sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never going to deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
Hey, do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it. Guaranteed.
All right, coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show. Thanks to the coach. Thanks to all of you. Have a great Saturday. We'll be putting out some videos on the channel later today. Got some 49er videos that I want to put out there, and check those out. You can also go to the Krueg Show channel page on YouTube and go to the store and order the merch. That's right. We got a number of interesting new merchandise items, and anybody who orders any merch at all, we produce a video for you thanking you for supporting the channel. We're sitting here on September the 2nd. We are at 22,271 subs. If you haven't hit like and subscribe, please do. Hitting like just helps the algorithm. More people find the shows. And if you hit subscribe and hit that notification bell every single time we go live, you'll get a notification that indeed we're going live. So we've had over almost 1.2 million views in the last 4 weeks alone, over 175,000 watch hours of our content over the last 4 weeks alone. The channel is growing by leaps and bounds. And Hugh Jassel says, make these shows a podcast, Larry. Oh, we will. We absolutely will. It's in the plans. Hugh says it's easier to listen than to watch. So, but we will have a podcast version of this up and rolling on a regular basis. That much I can promise you. But that does it for us. I'm going to go watch a little college football. I'm going to barbecue some chicken this afternoon. I'm looking forward to a very nice, it's kind of a cool day here in Walnut Creek. I was expecting, high 90s, but it's actually looking like it's about in the 70s. So perfect day for a little college football. Have a great rest of your Saturday, everybody. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to have.